the Agile brand.
Welcome everybody, this is Paul Foley and you're listening to Bulk Exchanges, where we explore the human stories behind heavy civil construction and technology. Along with my co-host Rachael Mahoney, we will be introducing guests from all areas of our trillion-dollar industry, from the legends that shaped modern infrastructure to the next generation who will revolutionize it. We will discuss ideas, opportunities, and strategies for what's next. All right, it's good to be back here again with our latest episode of Bulk Exchanges. I'm here with my co-host, Rachael Mahoney. Hey there, Rachael. How are you today?
Hi, Paul. I am fantastic. You know full well I have been looking forward to this episode and our guest in particular for quite some time. So just thrilled that the day is finally here.
Yeah, you and I, when we started off this whole Bulk Exchanges podcast venture, these are the types of folks that we really wanted to shine the light on and bring on to the show, hear their stories, the icons from the industry. Sometimes these icons are very front and center. Sometimes they're in the background, just making it all happen. So, I'm forever amazed and humbled at the caliber of people that we've been working on along this journey. And Amanda is right up there at the top of that pile. So I'm sure you'd agree with that too, Rachael, huh?
Absolutely. She is so important to everything that touches this industry. And again, spends most of her time behind the curtain making magic. So the fact that we get to introduce her to our listeners is something that is exactly as you said, why we're here.
Cool. And with that, Amanda, you are very welcome to the show.
Hey.
Cool. So Amanda, as you can tell from the over and back there between Rachael and I, we're super pumped and excited to have you on the show here. But would you mind explaining to the listeners who HCSS is, what you guys do there, what you mean for the industry, and, what your role at HCSS is, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, my name's Amanda Ayles. I'm a group product manager for estimating at HCSS. So that means I get to focus in specifically on the estimating and pre-construction part of construction in our software line. HCSS is an end-to-end software solution for heavy civil and infrastructure contractors in North America. Our estimating flagship product is called Heavy Bid, and it enables estimators to quickly build complex estimates for civil and infrastructure projects. Those types of projects tend to be big. There's a lot of bid items. There's a lot of things to pull apart. So we work to ensure that the bids are thorough and accurate, and it's easy to deliver it on time.
Awesome. Well, on this bulk exchange journey that we're on, we talk to estimators and project managers from Oregon, Ohio, Florida, across the country, and even Canada. And what I find continually fascinating is how the sense of ownership that you guys have created there at HCSS. We have estimators and project managers telling us, oh, I advise them on this part of their product, or I helped, Amanda and the crew build out that. I find it's an impeccable reputation that you guys have there for decades. And there's obviously an internal culture that's equally impressive. What do you think is the most important elements to building and maintaining an environment where everyone thrives?
I think that when it comes to the culture at HCSS, the biggest thing I've seen that pushes us in that direction is that everyone I've worked with here is the same person behind closed doors as they are in public. When we're on stage at UGM, or when we're in customer conversations in their office, our office, over the phone, anything, all of that interaction you're getting from a person, that's who they are. That's who they are when they go home. That's who they are when we're all here hanging out in the office. And so just that authenticity and integrity, right, feeds into that a lot. And then here at HCSS, I think our leadership has done a lot to build our confidence every individual person's confidence in knowing what we're talking about, trying to learn what we're talking about. We get opportunities to learn, to go out and experience actual construction sites, go out and experience what it's like to be in the room on bid day. And then we get to experiment and try things and fail, and hopefully fail fast and get past that. So they've created a pretty clear, like, centralizing outcome, which is we want our customers to succeed, and we are all working for that.
One of the things, Amanda, that's awesome. First of all, shout out to your nickname. When we were first introduced to you, and I was kind of looking up the company, the Google of Sugarland. I mean, that's pretty darn cool in terms of nicknames. And as Paul and I have joked, there are some things from the '80s that should survive. I think we can all agree that there are other things that should not. Hairstyles, but obviously the fact that you guys have been around so long. Not just surviving and iterating through all the changes that have happened in technology and in the industry that you serve over the course of the last 40 years, but something that's really extraordinary. And Paul, if you want to even bring this up more so, is that one of the first experiences I had when I came into this industry was that when we heard from your customers, there wasn't a sense of, HCSS as them and me. It was how you empowered them to feel like they were the ones responsible for what you were building and what you brought to the industry. There was this ownership that you conveyed in terms of bringing them into the conversation so that they felt like they had the platform to have their voices heard and to make sure that their needs were not only listened to, but then made it into the product or the things you guys chose to do. So if I don't know if you have anything more to add to that, Paul, or
Yeah, it's a superpower you guys have, just that your users have such skin in the game, Amanda. Like, it's palpable. We hear it time and time again, and you just said it. It's the authenticity. Well, I said it correct, that you guys have, and we've had that firsthand. We met you guys, on countless meetings now, but we've met you after hours, and just like you said, Amanda, you guys are the same off screen, off business hours as you are, when you're helping people move forward with your product. So I commend you on that as well.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that has been important to us in that fight, right, to make sure that the customers feel like they are an active part of the journey, because in business, we have to use all kinds of words, our customers, our users, and we really do attach that idea too of being partners with our customers. And to do it takes a lot of passion. So I'm hoping that y'all have seen that from everyone you've worked with at HCSS, that we do have a lot of passion around that. But it also takes a lot of humility, because we are built, there's so many systems in place for us to create endless opportunities to listen to our customers. And that means we have to be willing to put our pride up on the shelf and be prepared to throw away anything that I may have thought, oh, this is going to be awesome. People are going to love this. I have a great idea. And then I have to go and put myself out there. I go sit on a stage in front of 800 of them, and I say, hey, this is what we're thinking of adding to the system. And we engage in discourse, and we talk about why that won't work or why it will work, or it might work, but if you did it this way. And then they fight amongst each other, right? Because every construction company needs things different. And so it takes a lot of humility as well. And I will say, I hope also that is something that you've seen amongst the HCSS people, because I think they've been pretty great at hiring for those two core values.
Yeah, I think to your point, it's lip service. You hear it all the time, and everybody's, vision or mission statement, they'll talk about creating that type of culture or that environment, but very few can not only pull it off successfully, but maintain it for 40 years. So whatever you guys are doing, it's extraordinary. And we speak from a perspective of partners. You do that for your customers, you do it for your partners, you do it for the folks that join HCSS as an employee. It's something that just universally, you guys have such loyalty, and it's truly beloved in the industry. And again, to get that kind of devotion is so difficult any in any endeavor, but specifically in this industry, to just not only have folks, willing to continue along with you on the journey, but put in that extra time to give you that feedback. And that all stems from your willingness. You call it humility. It's also the ability to take that in and to listen and then respond to it in a way that they feel like that their input results in some meaningful thing that's important to them. And again, it's something that sounds so easy, but is very, very difficult to pull off.
Yeah, I've noticed it. We've sat in, what we call the supply side, Amanda, at bulk exchange, is the quarries, the supply yards, the recycling facilities, dump sites. I sat in a quarry office with a bunch of the leading folks from the organization one time. We're talking about bulk exchange and what we're bringing, and all these solutions and leaning into the future. And one of the the senior guys who'd been there for over 40 years stopped me, and he's asked me, he goes, "Paul, what's the cloud?" And talk about humility. It really stopped me in my tracks. And believe me, I'm a knucklehead when it comes to technology myself. But I really like what you emphasized there on the humility, because this industry, which has built this great country, the bridges, the tunnels, the freeways that we all, the infrastructure that we all use every day. So we have to be mindful and respectful of the audience and the folks from the industry. So I really like that you highlighted that. Speaking of the industry, Amanda, it's a traditionally male-dominated, heavy civil construction space that we're all in here. How has your background influenced your approach to leadership and innovation within this traditionally male-dominated space?
I don't think I spent much time thinking about it. So my background is in computer science, which is also a traditionally male-dominated space. And that is definitely something that I know I feel passionate about, just making sure more women in general hear, yes, you can do this. It is possible, and it's actually not that hard. So I highly, if you're at all interested, give it a try. But honestly, I just didn't think about it too much. I've always been just a general problem solver. And oh man, construction has problems, big, complex, hairy problems, right? Because this system, thinking of it in more of like a systems theory kind of place, right? The system that is construction, all the interweaving pieces, and how the one part A has to talk to part B. And if that goes awry at all, how that introduces its own complications. This is just, construction is a fascinating system, at least in North America, especially since we have things like, government that then's broken down to at least 50 states. And then those states have so many different entities below that, right? So it's just an insanely beautiful place to work when you're a person who loves hard problems.
I'm so glad you said that, because one of the things, some of my friends who've been aware of some of the things that I've done before, I think they had the initial impression that somehow this was going to be easier or more straightforward than some of the other problems that I've tried to solve with various technological endeavors. And I completely agree with you. That could not be farther from the truth. The more that I dig into trying to solve some of these challenges, the more I realize that it is as complex as anything I have ever worked on before. And we're talking, solving longevity through rate of aging, or, neuroscience applied to productivity, right? I've definitely had some things that are worthy of consideration and some challenge in the past, but truly this is one of the most impactful challenges that I've ever engaged in. And so to hear you say that is deeply resonant to me. And you said something going back to the initial question of male dominated industry and how you don't really think of that. I read this article that you did with Moxie, which is the voice of women in infrastructure. And you talked about how women oftentimes are unrecognized, or they don't have, they'll be invited in the room, but not necessarily paid a certain level of consideration specifically around product design. And I just think that there's something so important about that perspective, right? To solve these complex challenges, there are specific skill sets around multitasking, these dimensional thinking, that I think lends itself particularly well. Is there something in particular that you think that you see when more women are invited into those rooms around product design and around this industry that you think they're particularly contributing to?
I mean, they're good at contributing to the gaps we have, right? In the knowledge of how a workflow or a process works. So in construction, again, a complex system, every business then, right, is made up of its own complex like processes and workflows. And in general, where female staff is gonna be when it comes to a construction company, often it's in the office, often it's, doing the administrative work and helping keep systems actually running and functioning. And when they go on vacation, things kind of pause or break down for a little bit. And they're just so used to just getting the job done. Again, you don't think about it. You don't think about how much, for example, an estimating admin needs to be in the room when you're setting up this pre-construction software. And yet the entire point of the software is to make her life easier. And so it's just been astounding to me a little bit. I will say, I guess I have to be honest about that part, as far as that it's not obvious to her boss or her colleagues that she should be there, since she's the one that's doing a lot of the work. So when we're doing product design, discovery sessions, try to figure out, what does your day-to-day life look like? Okay, you're typing this in here, and then you hit send and it goes where, that kind of workflow breakdown. And there's just gaps in there. And then so when you start digging into the gaps, you find out this other human has this entire job inside of that process that just got skipped. And we can make a lot of that work better. And so it's been a great experience.
Absolutely. And, one of the many goals that we have here at Bulk Exchange is bringing more females into this heavy civil industry. Empowerment is a word that really resonates with me, and empowerment comes with more access to information and the visibility that we're trying to bring here at Bulk Exchange. I believe it will help towards that. So, yeah, that's wonderful to hear. And speaking of technology, what role does technology play in addressing some of the biggest challenges that you see that faces heavy civil construction today, such as sustainability or efficiencies, or those labor shortages, where, and that ties into this conversation on bringing more females in to help with this massive event that's really going to rock this super essential industry that the country just needs to function. What's your thoughts on the role that technology plays in that, Amanda?
Yeah. So I was in a position where I got to see over the last 10 years, especially, how our users in particular have interacted with technology. And over that time, it's helped me see and build a better understanding of this group. People tend to think that they're resistant to change or resistant to adopting tech. Resistant to change, absolutely, but it's not the technology that's the problem. I think our industry is not easy to impress, right? Their literal job is to make something out of nothing, and they're not sitting around waiting for someone to solve their problems. So they've been working, and now we have these software companies, right, that have come up over the last 40 plus years saying, hey, we can make that easier. So tech's brand for the longest time was, first, we'll make things easier for you. And again, that doesn't fit the culture of this industry, because we're not afraid of hard work. I'm not trying to make life easier. I'm trying to get things done. And if I'm tough and I can get this done. So I don't need things to be easy to get my job done. And so tech is not about easy anymore. That's what's changed, and that's what's coming for us. Tech is now a basic requirement for survival. It's a way to make the most out of what little you get. So tech is coming in for the construction industry in a way that you don't have to do it alone anymore. You don't have to solve that problem alone anymore. We're not trying to make things easier. We're just trying to make them possible at this point. So I'm really hoping that as we come into the next few years, the industry really strengthens its bonds as a community, because I would love that we completely skipped the generation of technology where everyone was out for themselves and are coming now into the generation of technology where everyone's contributing so that the whole will rise. Because I think our industry is a really strong community, and taking that community strength and then adding technology on top of that is what it's going to take to handle these shortages, to handle everything we don't have and still need to get work done.
Boom, $1 million answer. And that folks is why is Amanda here. That is so perfect. I love the way you frame that, because again, this is an industry that prides itself on the hard work it's willing to do. And so, being careful that whatever solutions first and foremost are practical, right? There's no flash or show that's going to be welcomed here, nor should it. It's about honoring that hard work that's been done for generations, at the same time saying, look, there's a place here for technology, so long as it's done with that in mind, that we're not trying to create a shortcut. We're not trying to make things easier, but this is about, filling some of those gaps, getting more done, right? With often cases fewer resources. And so the way that you were able to articulate and frame that, I think, is just so extraordinary and so relevant to the industry. I'm going to call you out a little bit, because one of the other quotes that you said somewhere that I just thought was so cool is the perfect lead into my next question, which is something that we're both very passionate about. You have some really young, brilliant people at HCSS that you brought on board into that special culture where you are providing them an opportunity of a lifetime to work with folks like you who've been doing this, for a while now. And that's about, how do we get more folks that maybe would have never seen themselves here to recognize the opportunity that this industry provides, in particular, the intersection between this heavy civil construction and technology. And you said something, and let me quote, construction is just plain cool. There's science, there's math, there's dirt. I think that not only encapsulates sort of your vibe and your energy, but I do think it's that kind of resonance that's really going to appeal to the young folks that are in construction programs around the country, or maybe going into university and have a lot of options in front of them. And so, I know that you're humble in your background and what you do from HCSS. I won't get into how everyone we come across at every level at HCSS tells us that you're critical to everything that they do. Obviously, you have mad respect within HCSS and the industry. But part of what you do, and we'll need to continue to do as all of us, is to attract that next generational talent. And so how do you approach that? What do you tell these young people that you talk to about getting them to take a look at this industry and all the opportunities that are here?
Yeah. So, right, being in an interesting intersection of construction, which needs people coming in, and then there's tech, which we've got a wide variety of people who are either young and coming in because at this point it's so native, that's just what they know, or they're looking to make that career shift and they're ready to get out of the rut they've been in or whatnot. I think overall, one of the things I noticed that at least was the same for me across both of these industries is just the black box that so much information was in, that made it feel like, oh, I'm not smart enough for that. I don't know what's going on over there. I can't do that. And I have seen in both industries, especially in construction, there is more than one path into construction. Like you listed some of the university paths, which are absolutely there. I remember I wanted to go to university so bad. When I learned that you did not need to go to university, become a pyrotechnician and make fireworks, I decided that I wasn't going to do that. So I knew I wanted university. And so I picked that path, but there's a lot of people where that's not right. That is not a good path for them. They will be miserable. They will hate it. And so we've got trade paths and we've got learning on the job and we've got so many ways to get into construction. And I have not seen any of those paths limit how far a person can go.
Yeah.
There has been no requirement that you have to take the university path to own the damn company one day. Like it's not expected or required.
Yeah, I'd second that. It's my eldest Aiden, he's up in Chico State doing construction management right now, and I'm super pumped about it. But the opportunities in construction, whether like you said, you could be working for a heavy civil or construction or on the contracting side. There's so many different areas and opportunities within an organization. Branch out and do your own thing, have your own independence that way, or work on the supply side. We hear it from some of the biggest suppliers in the country or even the world. Just the demand that they have for for new younger workers to come in. So it's there's massive opportunities there. So I think it's something that here at Bulk Exchange, and I can tell you guys over at HCSS feel very passionate about, is doing what we can to to shine the light on that and bring younger folks into the industry.
One of the things that I enjoyed a lot about when I got hired at HCSS, and we still try to honor this tradition to this day, is I got hired on as a software developer. A computer science degree was not required. I think I was the only one of 4 of us that got hired for that class that had a computer science degree. The other 3 had business and all kinds of things. And they have always made it a point. You don't have to have it. You just have to be passionate and willing to put in the work. And so then you go into a 3-month training course and you make it if you can figure it out, or you don't, right? But I think maybe both in construction and in tech, we've got to keep that mindset of it's hard because you think you're going to see a pipeline of talent coming out of university again. And there absolutely is. And I love seeing what all the contractors around the country are doing as far as like internships and just building these pipelines where they're snatching these people up left and right before they've even got their degrees. But there's not enough people coming through those pipelines to fill all the needs. So got to start getting creative as well in some of the ways that you can bring people in and train them on the job.
No, I love that. And something that you said right there is the perfect entree into our last and Paul and I's favorite question that we ask of each of our guests. You talked about the hard work. It's not about this preconception of what you can or can't do based on either a university education or a trade school education or life experience. I think we can all agree that this industry is ripe and full of opportunities if you're willing to put in that work. And it's not just putting in the work, it's the type of ability and type of effort that's specific that we see just everywhere in this industry, which is grit. Grit, it's one of those words you hear a lot, but it's something that almost universally, no matter the industry or the level that you're at, when they look for qualities in the type of people that you want to work with that truly do make an impact wherever they go, it's those folks that understand and apply, grit. And so what does that mean to you? How do you define grit, and how do you use that and look for it in the folks that you interact with?
Thinking about this question in particular, I think took me the longest out of all the preparation. So where I landed on that was overall, I think having grit means very simply just very stubborn determination on what you will or won't put up with, what you will or won't do, like pushing on when things are hard. But I think that what that ends up looking like throughout life is different. So throughout life, different pieces are going to give you friction that you then turn your grit into a pearl of wisdom, right? So for me right now in life, my grit is actually driven by my grief, right? So I live with the reality that I lost my best friend and husband in 2019. And at this point, that is still enough for me to feel so passionate about living and be driven in a way that people can't stop me at this point, right? Because I am determined I am going to have really good stories to tell him when I see him again one day. And that is what is driving everything about my life. And that wasn't what it was always. And at some point, what drives my grit may become different. And I think being open and looking for that at your different seasons in life is then holding on to, I guess, that stubborn determination to just live throughout all of it.
Wow. Yeah, that's very, very touching and very, very powerful, Amanda. And what a way to mark the end of the show. And we are honored and humbled to work with you and your co-workers at HCSS. And it's such a pleasure to have you on the show and share some of your stories like that, Amanda. So we'll be talking to you very soon. And thank you very much for being on Bulk Exchanges. On behalf of myself and Rachael, we want to thank our guests and listeners for joining us on another episode of Bulk Exchanges, where industry meets infrastructure and shapes great conversations. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and also find us at bulkexchange.com and on socials at Bulk Exchange. And remember, until next time, keep building, listening, and learning.
The Agile brand.